Hey everybody, welcome back to more casual deck building. It's casual. I'm tired. But we're going to do this anyway. So we're going to set you over here this time. Maybe get a better view. Today's commander is Derevi, or Derevi. I think it's Derevi. Imperial Tactician, a green, white, and blue. It's a legendary creature, bird wizard. Flying. Whenever it enters the battlefield or a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, you may tap or untap a target permanent. You can also pay 1 green, white, blue to put Derevi onto the battlefield from the command zone. It's a 2/3. I did that because having tapping and untapping stuff is fun, and having a cheaper thing to get around commander tax is fun. The problem with this deck is I don't know what it does. I built it with the intent of purpose of doing something. I can't remember what it was. I've won with the deck. I don't know how I've won with the deck. It does things. Usually when I go into building a deck, there's a purpose or a theme around it. And I don't know what this one is. So maybe you guys, when you see things and you can put 2 and 2 together more than what I can, or maybe I'll discover it as I revisit it. But yeah, I don't remember what this deck does. So we're going to find out what it does together. Alrighty. Starting off, Arcane Signet. 2 mana, taps for a mana of any color in your commander's identity. Healer's Hawk, 1 white, flying lifelink, 1/1. It's probably one of the best cards ever created. Maze of Ith, it's a land. You tap it to untap a target attacking creature. Prevent all combat damage that would be dealt to and by that creature this turn. Some protection for you. Nature's Claim, a green instant. Destroy target artifact or enchantment. Its controller gains 4 life. Azorius Guildmage, either 2 white, 2 blue, or 1 of each. You can pay 2 and a white to tap target creature, or you can pay 2 and a blue to counter target activated ability. That's the one that you want. It's a 2/2. Search for Glory, 2 and a white. It's a snow sorcery. Search your library for a snow permanent card, a legend card, or a saga card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. You gain 1 life for each snow spent to cast a spell. There are no snow spells in this deck. I have it for a legendary tutor. I don't even think I have a saga either. I should put snow lands in there so you can at least look for a snow land. That'd be kind of funny. What's next? Savala, Heart of the Wilds, 1 and 2 green. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield, its controller may draw a card if its power is greater than each other creature's power. You can pay a green to tap it and add X mana in any combination of colors where X is the greatest power among creatures you control. It's a 2/3. The Wandering Emperor, 2 and 2 white. Legendary Planeswalker, Flash. As long as the Wandering Emperor entered the battlefield this turn, you may activate her loyalty abilities anytime you could cast an instant. +1, you put a +1 counter on up to 1 target creature. It gains first strike until end of turn. -1, you create a 2/2 white samurai creature token with vigilance. -2, exile target tapped creature. You gain 2 life as 3 loyalty. Serra Ascendant, 1 white. Human Monk, lifelink. As long as you have 30 or more life, Serra Ascendant gets +5/+5 and has flying. It's a 1/1. Great to start off the game with that one. Swiftfoot Boots, 2 mana, artifact equipment. Equip creature has hexproof and haste. Equip cost 1. Righteous Authority, 3, a white and a blue. Enchant creature. Enchanted creature gets +1/+1 for each card in its controller's hand. At the beginning of the draw step of enchanted creature's controller, that player draws an additional card. That's nice. Overflowing Basin, it's a land. You pay 1 to tap it and add a blue and a green. Clever Concealment, 2 and 2 white. It's an instant, and you can convoke it, meaning you can tap creatures to pay for the any mana colors. Any number of target non-land permanents you control phase out. That's a good way to protect you from stuff. Progenitor Mimic, for a green and a blue. You may have Mimic enter the battlefield as a copy of any creature on the battlefield, except it has at the beginning of your upkeep. If this creature isn't a token, create a token that's a copy of this creature. It's a 0/0. So don't pop it on a legendary, or it will die. Biomantic Mastery, 4 and then either 3 green, 3 blue, or any combination. Draw a card for each creature target player controls. Then draw a card for each creature another target player controls. That's a great draw engine if they got a bunch of creatures. Noble Hierarch, 1 green. It's exalted, meaning whenever a creature you attack, you control attacks alone, that creature gets +1/+1. Then you can tap it for either a green, white, or blue, and it's a 0/1. Citadel Gate enters the battlefield. When it enters, it enters tapped, and when it enters, you choose a color other than white. So you can get white or green or blue, and then it taps for white or green or blue. Command Tower taps for color in your commander's identity. Dragon Lord Dromoka, 4 a green and a white. This spell can't be countered. Flying and lifelink. Your opponents can't cast spells during your turn. That's a 5/7. Port Town enters the battlefield. You may reveal a plains or an island from your hand. If you don't, it enters tapped. Tap for white or blue. Tamiyo Completed Sage, 2 mana, a green, a blue, and then Phyrexian, meaning that you can pay a green, a blue, or 2 life for it. However, if you pay 2 life for it, it enters with 2 less loyalty, so the 5 will become a 3. Its +1 ability is tap up to 1 target artifact or creature. It doesn't untap during its controller's next untap step. You can -X and exile target non-land permanent card with mana value X from your graveyard. Create a token that's a copy of that card. Or you can -7 and create a notebook. It's a legendary colorless artifact token with spells you cast cost 2 less to cast and tap to draw a card. I have yet to pull off her ultimate, but that +1 has been pretty good. A forest and a plains. Time wipe. 2 white and a blue. Return a creature you control to its owner's hand, then destroy all creatures. Forest. Another forest. Pearl Medallion. 2 mana. White spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. Island. Sword of Once and Future. 3 mana. It's an artifact equipment. Equipped creature gets +2/+2 and has protection from blue and black. When equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, you surveil 2, meaning you look at the top 2 cards of your library, and then you can either keep them on top or you can put them in the graveyard. Then you may cast an instant or sorcery spell with mana value 2 or less from your graveyard without paying its mana cost. If that spell would be cast this way, or if this spell would be put into your graveyard, exile it instead, equip 2. We got a Soul Ring, 1 mana, taps for 2 colorless. I've got a Elden Ring alternative art thing. It's really pretty. Tangled Islet. It's a forest island. It enters the battlefield tapped, but it can tap for green or blue. Seedborn Muse. 3 and 2 greens. Untap all permanents you control during each other player's untap step. It's a 2/4. Mox Amber. 0 mana. It's a legendary artifact. Add 1 mana of any color among legendary creatures and planeswalkers you control. Battle Angels of Tyr. 2 and 2 white. Flying Myriad. When Battle Angels deals combat damage to a player, you draw a card. If that player has more cards in their hand than each other player. Then you create a treasure token if that player controls more lands than each other player. Then you gain 3 life if that player has more life than each other player. It's a 4/4. That's a fun one. Island. Oh, what's next? Ooh, that's right. Galadriel, Light of Valinor. 2, a green, white, and a blue. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, choose one that hasn't been chosen this turn. Add 3 green, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control, scry 2, then draw a card. She's a 3/3. I think She was my original commander, and I was building around her. And then I swapped it out because I can't remember. But she's a great card. Reflector Mage, 1 white and blue. When it enters the battlefield, return target creature an opponent controls to its owner's hand. That creature's owner can't cast spells with the same name as that creature until your next turn. It's a 2/3. Burgeoning, 1 green. It's an enchantment. Whenever an opponent plays a land, you may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield. Nahiri's Binding, 1 and 2 white. Enchantment aura. Enchant creature or planeswalker. Enchanted permanent can't attack or block, and its activated abilities can't be activated. Shalai, Voice of Plenty, 3 and a white. Flying, you, planeswalkers you control, and other creatures you control have hexproof. You can pay 4 and 2 green to put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. She's a 3/4. Azorius Chancery enters tapped, and when it enters, return a land you control to your hand, and then you can tap it for a white and a blue. Reflecting Pool, add 1 mana of any type that a land you control could produce. Myojin of Cryptic Dreams, 5 and 3 blue. When it enters, it enters with an addition. I'm going to take a drink. Gotta slow down. I'm talking too fast. It enters the battlefield with an indestructible counter on it if you cast it from your hand. Remove an indestructible counter from Myojin. Copy target permanent spell you control 3 times. It's a 3/3. Plains. Island. Quasi-duplicate. 1 and 2 blue. Create a token that's a copy of target creature you control. Jumpstart. You may cast this card from your graveyard by discarding a card in addition to paying its other costs, then exile it. Ghostly Prison, 2 and a white. Creatures can't attack you unless their controller pays 2 mana for each creature they control that's attacking you. Plains. Propaganda, 2 and a blue. Creatures can't attack you unless their controller pays 2 for each creature they control that's attacking you. That's great, those 2 in combination. Plains. Overwhelming Splendor. It's 6 and 2 white. Enchant player. Creatures enchanted player controls lose all abilities and have base power and toughness 1/1. Enchanted player can't activate abilities that aren't mana abilities or loyalty abilities. Colony Heart Expedition, 1 and a green. It's an enchantment. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you may put a quest counter on Colony Heart Expedition. Remove 3 quest counters from Colony Heart Expedition and sacrifice it. Search your library for up to 2 basic land cards and then put them on the battlefield tab. Shuffle your library. Glacial Fortress. It enters the battlefield tapped unless you control plains or an island, and then it taps for white or blue. Reliquary Tower. Taps for colorless. Unlimited max hand size. Stoic Angel. 1 green, white, and blue. Flying Vigilance. Players can't untap more than 1 creature during their untap steps. 3/4. Discerning Financier, 2 and a white. At the beginning of your upkeep, if an opponent controls more lands than you, create a treasure token. You can pay 2 and a white to choose another player. That player gains control of target treasure you control. You draw a card. 2/3. I don't know why I would use that unless I needed card draw. Bloom Tender, 1 and a green. For each color among permanents you control, add 1 mana of that color to your mana pool. You have to tap it to do that. It's a 1/1. Mother of Runes, 1 white. Tap to target creature you control gains protection from the color of your choice until end of turn. She's also a 1/1. Gideon Blackblade, 1 and 2 white. He's a planeswalker. As long as it's your turn, Gideon is a 4/4 human soldier creature with indestructible that's still a planeswalker. Prevent all damage that would be dealt to Gideon Blackblade during your turn. +1, up to 1 other target creature you control gains your choice of Vigilance, Lifelink, or Indestructible until end of turn. -6, Exile target non-land permanent. He has 4 loyalty. Trouble in Pairs. 2 and 2 white. I think this is also on the Game Changers. The new bracket stuff, I think. If an opponent would begin an extra turn, that player skips that turn instead. Whenever an opponent attacks, you, with 2 or more creatures, draws their second card each turn, or casts their second spell each turn, you draw a card. I don't know why that one's a game changer. Maybe it pairs well with some other stuff. But it's never changed a game for me. A lot of the game changers have never changed a game for me. Because I don't build that way. Oh well. Island. Cosmic Intervention. 3 and a white. If a permanent you control would be put into a graveyard from the battlefield this turn, exile it instead. Return it to the battlefield under its owner's control at the beginning of the next end step. Foretell. You can pay 1 and a white. During your turn, you may pay 2, any mana, and exile this card from your hand face down. Cast it on a later turn for its Foretell cost. Sword of Feast and Famine. 3 mana. It's an equipment. Equipped creature gets +2/+2 and has protection from black and green. Whenever equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, that player discards a card, and you untap all lands you control. Equip cost 2. Hunting Grounds, a green and a white. Enchantment. As long as 7 or more cards are in your graveyard, Hunting Grounds has, whenever an opponent casts a spell, you may put a creature card from your hand onto the battlefield. Plains. Void Shatter, 1 and 2 blue. Counter target spell. If that spell is countered this way, exile it instead of putting it into its owner's graveyard. Neat. Shiny Plains. Forest. Iganjo, Seat of the Empire, legendary land, taps for a white. Or you can pay 2 and a white to discard it from your hand. It deals 4 damage to target attacking or blocking creature. This ability costs 1 less to cast for each legendary creature you control. Nylea, God of the Hunt, 3 and a green. Indestructible. As long as your devotion to green is less than 5, Nylea isn't a creature. So your devotion's the little pips of colors, so you need 5 greens to make her a creature. Other creatures you control have trample, and you can pay 3 and a green for target creature to get +2/+2 until end of turn. She's a 6/6. The fourth Doctor, 2, a green, and a blue. You may look at the top card of your library at any time. Once each turn, you may play a historic land or cast a historic spell from the top of your library. When you do, create a food token. That's a 4/4. So historic is any saga, artifact, or legendary creature. That's bending a little bit. I don't like that. The Council of 4. 3, 1 white, and 1 blue. Whenever a player draws their second card during their turn, you draw a card. Whenever a player casts their second spell during their turn, you create a 2/2 white knight. 0/8. Good blocker. Dawn Charm, 1 and a white. Choose 1. Prevent all combat damage that would be dealt this turn. Regenerate target creature. Counter target spell that targets you. That's fun. Mana Tithe, 1 white. Counter target spell unless its controller pays 1. Keep Safe, 1 and a blue. Counter target spell that targets a permanent you control. Draw a card. Angel's Grace, 1 white. Instant. It has split second, meaning as long as it's on the stack, players can't cast spells or activate stuff. You can't lose the game this turn, and your opponents can't win the game this turn. Until end of turn, damage that would reduce your life to life total to less than 1 reduces it to 1 instead. Chromatic Lantern, 3 mana. Lands you control have tap to add 1 mana of any color, and it itself taps 1 to add 1 mana of any color. OG, the Exquisite Blade, 2, a white and blue. When OG enters the battlefield, gain 2 life and scry 2. Cool. Whenever you cast your second spell each turn, exile up to 1 target creature you control, then return it to the battlefield under its owner's control. It is a 2/3. Okay. Tropical Island, taps for green or blue. Kozilek, Butcher of Truth, 10 mana. When you cast a spell, draw 4 cards. Annihilator 4. Whenever this creature attacks, defending player sacrifices 4 permanents. And then whenever Kozilek is put into a graveyard from anywhere, its owner shuffles their graveyard into their library. It's a 12/12. That's there for some graveyard protection, some mill protection, right? If you get milled a bunch and can't do anything, it's like, oh, nope, no, it goes back and resets. So it's a good way to keep you from drawing out. Copy enchantment, 2 and a blue. You may have copy enchantment enter the battlefield as a copy of any enchantment on the battlefield. Pretty straightforward. Teferi's Protection, 2 and a white. Until your next turn, your life total can't change, and you gain protection from everything. All permanents you control phase out. Exile Teferi's Protection. Nimbus Maze. Taps for a colorless, or taps for a white, but only if you have an island. It taps for a blue, but only if you have a plains. Oh, we're running out of room again. There you go. Yep. Let's see. We got Sprouting Vines, 2 and a green. Search your library for a basic land card. Reveal that card, put it into your hand, then shuffle. Storm. When you cast a spell, copy it for each spell cast before it this turn. So if you cast 3 spells before you cast this one, then you get 4 lands. That's awesome. But it goes to your hand, so be wary. So you don't have to discard stuff. A Johnny Steadfast, 3/1, Planeswalker. +1 until end of turn, up to 1 target creature gets +1/+1, first strike, vigilance, and a lifelink. -2, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control, and loyalty counter on each other Planeswalker you control. Do I have another Planeswalker here? Yeah, we got Gideon. Is that it? I think so. -7, you get an emblem with, if a source would deal damage to you or a Planeswalker you control, prevent all but 1. It's a 4/4. Or it's a 4 loyalty. Raven Form, 2 and a blue. Exile target artifact or creature. Its controller creates a 1/1 blue bird creature token with flying. Or you can foretell it for 1 blue. During your turn, you may pay 2, exile it from your hand face down, cast it later on the first foretell cost. Cool. Azorius Charm, a blue and a white. Choose 1. Creatures you control gain lifelink until end of turn. Draw a card. Or put target attacking or blocking creature on top of its owner's library. Canopy Vista. Enters the battlefield tapped unless you control 2 or more basic lands. Taps for a green or white. Reprieve. 1 and a white. Return target spell to its owner's hand. Draw a card. Irenicus' Vile Duplication, 3 and a blue. Create a token that's a copy of target creature you control, except the token has flying and it isn't legendary. That's nice. Akroma's Will, 3 and a white. Choose 1. If you control a commander as you cast a spell, you may choose both instead. Creatures you control gain flying, vigilance, and double strike until end of turn, and or creatures you control gain lifelink, indestructible, and protection from all colors until end of turn. That seems more like a game changer. Yeah. I don't know if it is one, but it seems like it should be one. Janara, Asura of War. Green, white, blue. Flying, pay 1 and a white to put a +1/+1 counter on Janara. She's a 3/3. Restless Vinestock enters tapped, and you can tap it for a green or a blue, or you can pay 3, a green and a blue. Until end of turn, it becomes a 5/5 green and blue plant creature token with trample, or plant creature with trample. Still a land. And whenever it attacks, up to 1 other target creature has base power and toughness 3/3 until end of turn. Well, that's fun. Ancient Tomb, that's 2 mana and deals 2 damage to you. I think that's also a game changer in the brackets or something. I'll need to look that one up. It feels like it might be. Supreme Verdict, 1, 2 white and a blue. Can't be countered. Destroy all creatures. Sunscape Familiar, 1 and a white. It is a wall. It cannot attack. But green spells and blue spells you play cost 1 less to play. It's a 0/3. Coma, Cosmos Serpent. 3, 2 green, 2 blue. This spell can't be countered. At the beginning of each upkeep, create a 3/3 blue serpent creature token named Koma's Coil. Sacrifice another serpent, choose one. Tap target permanent. Its activated abilities can't be activated this turn. Or Koma gains indestructible until end of turn. It's a 6/6. Nice. Avacyn, Angel of Hope, 5 and 3 white. Flying, Vigilance, indestructible. Other permanents you control have indestructible. She's an 8/8. And finally, Apex Devastator, 8 and 2 green with Cascade, 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 Cascade. When you cast this spell, exile cards from the top of your library until exile a non-land card that costs less. You may cast it without paying its mana cost. Put the exiled cards on the bottom of your library in any order. Multiple instances of Cascade each trigger separately. Cool. So that means I cast this for 10, and then I can Cascade for 9 or less 4 times. That's a big fun one. Okay, so if you guys figured out what the theme or what you can do with this deck is, great. I still don't know. We've got something that slows them down from attacking us. We got some mana stuff. We got some big creatures. Got some token copying stuff. I don't know. I don't know what this deck does. It's just here. It just does whatever. And I've won with it. I don't know how. But it's beautiful. I really do like this Galadriel card, though. This one's very pretty. Very good shiny art on that one. And it does cool effects, too. That's neat. But, yeah, I mean, cheap commander that lets me to tap and untap stuff when I deal combat damage. Yeah, I seems pretty cool. So if you guys can figure out what this does, or specific theme or angle, or if it's kind of all over the place, or if you know about switching something out, 2 or 3 things to be like, oh, switch these out with these things, and then it becomes something cool, let me know. I'd love to hear your thoughts. I have no idea what to do. But yeah, anyway, hope you enjoy, have fun. We'll catch you later.